Ryan.
Hello, Rachel.
How you doing?
I'm worried. Rachel. Do you want to know why?
Sure.
You don't know? You don't know why I'm in absolute fear?
No.
I'm afraid that our yumlings, the people who listen to the YumYumPodcast, the only podcast that has yum energy, I'm afraid that they won't be able to hear this episode properly.
What?
Well, I don't know how good the sound quality is going to be with this, because we have, for this one, we're recording it specially. We've shoved the microphones up our butts, and I don't know how great it is going to be. We've cranked them up 100% volume, so you may be able to hear my lunch, what I had for lunch, but I don't know if it's going to be peak podcasting audio. So we'll just have to get the yumlings. Let us know. Hit us up on the social medias or our email, all of which is in the description, if this episode sounds any good, and if it does, we'll make sure to shove the microphones up our butts in future episodes. So we'll just have to wing it from here. Rachel, we are YumYumPodcast because of what reason?
Because of a line that was offered to us in the television experience that is Star Trek Discovery.
That's a great way to describe it. It wasn't just a moment, it wasn't just a line, but an experience that enraptured us, changed us. You know how you hear about people who go to prison and they find God, they find Jesus, and a religious awakening happens to them? Hell, that happens to one of the main characters in Babylon 5 to a certain extent, a few episodes from now. That's what Yum Yum was, where we were in the prison of Star Trek Discovery episodes, and then we found Yum Yum, so we named ourselves after it, and we rewatch episodes of science fiction TV. Star Trek Discovery has been covered in the past. We're going through Babylon 5 currently, which means spoilers are abound for the entire thing, because we are looking at it from the perspective of the rewatch, so we are going to discuss it in relation to the whole. But Rachel, are we still in season 3?
Yes. We only just started season 3.
We've only just started? Wow, season 3 is so welcoming, because I feel like I've been here for a little while. We are up to episode 2 of season 3, known as Convictions. And do you want to hear what the DVD description has to say?
I heard it last week, but I would love to hear it again from you.
Okay, well, you already heard it last episode, so it's not going to be as enthralling for you, but for first-time listeners out there, first-time yumlings, here it goes. A series of terrorist bombings sends waves of fear through the station and sets in motion speculation about the bombers' political motives. Speculation that proves false when a manhunt turns up the real culprit.
On the next Babylon 5, a mad bomber with a vengeance.
There's no telling where the next bombing's going to happen.
Terrorizes the station.
You'll probably die here.
Now, Sheridan must locate the killer.
Do whatever you have to do. But I want this stopped.
Before the next blast.
Do you understand fear?
On the next
Hit the deck!
Babylon 5.
Convictions, episode 2. There's a lot of moving pieces here. A lot of things are going on. A lot of characters, new and old. One-scene wonders, in fact. If I have to praise this for anything, it's you get a lot of one-scene wonders, or even just minor plays, like one-episode wonders here. So it makes it really difficult to lock in who would have said Yum Yum in this one. Who had YYE? Rachel? Is there anyone leaping out to you? A new character, an old character, a mainstay, a guest star? Yum Yum energy.
Obnoxious man.
Played by John C. Flynn III, the DP of Babylon 5. What made you go with him? Is it just because he's a talkative guy?
Yeah, but he has YYE by the bucket load. He has a possibly ex-wife called Sheila.
Oh, yeah, which is
They
a
had
well-known
an
name to
argument
us.
and he left the planet.
Yeah, you bring up compelling points. He was in my list as well. I mean, it's kind of hard to go past him, but Jakar had YYE. Just want to shout out Jakar. If we're going to go main cast members, he would be the guy.
Yes.
He was having a ball. He would have said yum yum after singing his little fishy song. Londo and me, yum yum. So his, I agree, Obnoxious Man is my winner. There was a few other little guest stars. I mean, Brother Theo was definitely had, not YYE, but YYS, Yum Yum Swagger. He swaggered with the yum yum, but I don't think he would have said it out loud. But he said it with his eyes.
He didn't need to say it. He had it with the shush.
Convictions. Where are you with this? Tell us your story, your journey, your history and relationship with Convictions.
I forget about the rest of this episode and only ever really think about Londo and Jakar stuck in an elevator.
It's very memorable.
I always forget how little of the episode it is.
But they're some of the longer scenes.
Yeah. But, like, one of them is, like, less than 30 seconds as well.
Oh, but it's memorable.
It's memorable. It's distinct. It's important. It's important. I love it. I love it. I love that part of it so much. And then I'm always like, oh, and there's a bomber. That's the reason why that happens, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Babylon 5 does terrorism again.
Oh, the Unabomber was a big thing at the time.
Yeah.
So let's work it into our script.
Yeah, it has that distinct
90s feel.
Yeah.
Oh,
of
so
like,
prescient.
oh, we're going to carve this into it.
So forgettable is kind of the term leaping to my mind with what you're saying, where you remember this one aspect, but the rest of it is not sticking in the brain.
Yes.
So would you say it's a bad episode?
No. It's a solid episode. It's serviceable, but it just isn't that unique.
That's a great way to describe it. It's not that unique. I've never been a big lover of Convictions. It has just been an episode. It reminds me as a better episode, like this is a better version of a season 1 episode, Survivors, where there was a bomb plot in that as well, but that one sucked. This is serviceable. It gets the job done. It moves the pieces along. Great character work, great acting. But it has never stuck out to me either. Not even as a bad episode, just as like, oh, this is an episode that's in Babylon 5. There's a mad bomber. I am also of the same opinion where what you remember is Londo and Jakar stuck in an elevator. The other thing that I do strongly remember from this, and this is why it pushes it a higher notch as well, is the emotional reaction it gets out of me between Linnea and Londo. The fact that Linnea was willing to sacrifice himself to save Londo because he believes all life is sacred, and then Londo trying to get him out of the coma by talking to him and being there, but it's this awkward bond because they're friends. It's very melancholic and bittersweet. They're friends, but they never were really friends.
No. And
Londo has gone past the realm of being redeemed in the eyes of other people.
Yeah.
And there's also that melancholy of Londo, the character, is trying to be the fun guy we used to know. And it's him trying to be that, but he's no longer that guy. He's no longer the guy that cheats at poker with his penises. He's no longer the guy that goes on adventures. Yeah. And you get that immediately when he leaves Linnea and he's confronted by the face of his victim, basically.
Yeah.
Jakar, the representative of the entirety of the Narn, looking at him, and he's stuck in that elevator. And we get funny stuff, of course, but that moment where they stare at each other reminds you intensely that that fun Londo that we've known is no longer really around. It's this Londo, the guy who has somebody who he's oppressing. And that's
liberating.
Well, they're liberating them. Yes. And so Convictions is a bit of a mixed bag for me, where we have the main plot, which is one that never really sticks out, not in a bad or good way, but just never sticks out. But the things that it brings us,
the
sticks
character
out.
Moments.
Yes.
The plot is meh, but the character is mwah.
How many centari does it take to screw in a light bulb? Just one. But in the great old days of the Republic, hundreds of servants would change 1,000 light bulbs at our slightest whim. Well, I guess you had to be there. I'm going to take a break now and wait for you to talk. And if you don't, I will just start talking again. We wouldn't want that now, would we?
Brother Theo is introduced in this episode.
And he's complete.
He's very well realized in the performance,
he
at
is
least.
a complete character.
Yes, I would say that.
And it does not take that long.
No. So do you want to walk us through Brother Theo, give us the rundown of his deal and how they implement him here?
Brother Theo is part of a religious organization
Known as the Catholic Church.
Wants to set up base on Babylon 5 so they can learn the faces and names of God in alien worlds, in alien tongues.
Yeah.
So that they can better know the figure behind those gods, the one true God.
Because now that we've reached out to the stars, and especially after this event on Babylon 5 at the end of Season 2, although there's many differences, there are a lot of common points of reference to religions throughout this universe. And so they want to know what this is. They want to find out, in a way, who is making the mythos? Who is God? And we know who it is. It's Kosh.
It's the Vorlons.
The Vorlons manipulating stuff, which is a very interesting angle to look at this whole thing with Brother Theo at, because
from the start we know that it's the Vorlons.
But he doesn't know that.
No, and Ivanova doesn't fully know that either.
No, it's mainly just Sheridan and Delenn at this point.
Which makes it interesting that Ivanova is the one that has the meeting with Brother Theo. And because it's just like, yeah, it makes sense for her. It adds comedy because it's Ivanova. We know that she's Jewish.
Yeah, I was going to say this episode has a joke in it. This episode has a lot of jokes in it, like jokes told. And one of them is a Jew, an agnostic, and a monk try to solve a bombing. That is the plot of this, loosely, is that.
Yep.
And I do adore that. I do adore that very much.
Great.
So.
It's great, but it's just like, yes, this makes sense that it's Ivanova, not Sheridan.
Oh, no.
Sheridan would give too much away. But you know why it also makes sense?
Why?
Think back a bit, Ryan.
Oh, because Sheridan doesn't like doing his job, so he gets Ivanova to do his job all the fucking time. Yeah.
Admin work is Ivanova's job now.
So with Brother Theo, in this episode, they implement him and his all of his monks to help solve the bombing.
Friary?
Yeah, and the monastery. No, they are a group of many different people with high-level skills. And Ivanova, there's this brilliant moment where the back and forth between her and Theo I really enjoyed, where he's listing off all of these amazing experts of these wonderful different...
in that.
Yeah, the timing's great, the delivery is amazing. And he's listing off engineers and scientists.
Like
and
they're all experts.
they're
in
all
their
amazing.
field.
And Ivanova questions then, well, why would they be doing this? Why would they come here? And it's because they believe, Ivanova. And that was nice. And
Just shuts it down. It's
because
beautiful.
she's somebody who believes.
Yeah.
We've had this conversation with her before, with her and Dr. Franklin. So it worked. It was a nice moment. But Brother Theo, that's what he serves in this. But in the grander narrative, he's a byproduct and result of what Kosh did, which I
Yes.
think's really great because it is saying that Kosh doing that is important, not just because it's important to us, the viewer, that we finally got a mystery revealed, but that said mystery revealed has consequences.
Galactic-wide consequences.
The Shadows know, the Vorlons know what he did, everybody kind of knows what he
The humans
did.
have been impacted, the Drazi
Yeah.
are rocking up and poking Zach.
And it sets the groundwork for Babylon 5 going above just being a station to a place of holiness, which will then in season 4 be amplified by the fact that Sheridan returns from the dead, and it goes on and on and on to where we get to in Deconstruction of Falling Stars, where they've become biblical figures in their own right. So it's laying this nice groundwork by having Brother Theo and the Drazi at the beginning coming in as these religious people who are now drawn to Babylon 5 because of this appearance of an angel. I was not a fan of Brother Theo on my first watch, especially in this episode, because I wrestle with this, and I still wrestle with it now, and I'd love to hear your opinion of this. I don't mind the character, I don't even mind the idea. It's the actual execution of them in stories. So,
Yeah.
for instance, I struggle very much so to see a room full of hooded monks who speak old-timey like Brother Theo does, smashing at keyboards, doing hacking and tech and looking at cameras and being all like, shh, like they're in a library. And I kind of roll my eyes a little and go, this is a degree too far into silly territory for me.
Oh, okay.
What do you think? Where are you at?
It's silly, but I go with the silliness. I'm like, okay, this makes sense that, religious organizations would also need to evolve eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I'm not against that. It's just the visual of it, of these monks in their full...
I'm like, it's a quirk.
in their full Dark Ages robes with their crosses and all of that, hitting keyboards and zooming in, and
They don't shave their heads into that
No, I laugh though.
specific haircut.
No,
so-
they don't have the little skull thing at the back. No, they're not. They're not friars, are they? I don't know.
They're
Just-
brothers.
They're brothers. I struggle with it because I shouldn't find it silly. Because what you say is true. Religion evolves even through technology, and we've seen that very much so, especially with huge organizations like Catholicism. I mean, there are hip priests that are with it and on social media and all of that.
Pandemic changed a lot of things too.
That changed a lot of things, but I just can't help but giggle.
It just doesn't sit right with you. That's fine.
And I don't know if it's supposed to be silly and funny. That's the thing. Do you think it's supposed to be?
I think a lot of it's meant to be funny. That shush moment's meant to be funny.
Yeah, that shush moment is meant to be funny, but like, this is the first episode to show us how these monks will now be in stories. And it is inherently, to me, silly. And as a first-time viewer, when I first time viewed it, I worried, oh my god, now we've got this stupid monk thing, and they're going to have monks solving crimes in episodes.
Yeah,
And I worried,
was
I gritted my
worried
teeth
about
at that.
And I'm like, okay, I don't trust this.
They look at Brother Theo favorably in this, but they don't necessarily look at the Drazi favorably. How do you feel? How do you feel about that? Because we have the opening scene where the Drazi are stupid, dumb people who are being mocked by security for their religious beliefs, and they're poking Zach because they think he's religious. Now, this is all funny. I find it very amusing, but it's treated as, oh, these silly religious people are here.
I'm annoyed at that on this viewing. Like, because, like, everybody is doing it. And I'm like, they just want to, like, show them a little respect.
But they fight over colours.
Yeah.
But Droshala, and none of them can get his name right.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It
like,
is.
it was a bit too thick for me today.
I loved Zach, though. Zach is here. He's in the opening credits, as we've mentioned. He's got only a little bit to do here, but Jeff Conaway was great. I thought he nailed the comedic timing of them poking him and his reaction, and again, this episode is really great at pacing and timing. They really got it to a fine clockwork precision in this one. And look, I find it fun. I still found it funny when they poked the plant and then they looked up to the heavens and Zach's just looking at them onwards being like, oh God. But it is that funny thing where we've been shown that religions are tolerated by this series. They are accepted. We accept that religion exists, but then also we have the Drazi as like, look at these dumb people and their dumb religion, and we should laugh at them because we know it's kosh. But then we have the monks come in. It's like, hey guys, it's a human religion. You know this. And so we should respect it. But then they
get to be treated with dignity.
They get to be treated with dignity and respect and honor, and with high-level clearance to Ivanova, right? Because they're humans. And then they turn around and give them a silly, like, here's a room full of monks watching TV screens. See, that's what I mean. It's just such
it wants it both ways.
There's a dissonance there.
Yes.
There's a dissonance for me, at least. But I enjoy Brother Theo as a character. I loved his dialogue in general, and the actor we've talked about many times in the past nails it. He perfectly embodies it with that right amount of snootiness, without pushing it over to being like
pomposity,
but without pushing it over to being a hate-filled depiction of a religious figure, because that happens a lot, where you get an actor to play up a priest or a monk or a bishop or whatever to be very pompous, and in turn you don't like them, and then in turn you think that the religion they represent is stupid or invalid because you have this tyrannical person or this silly person. But he manages the levels just right where I wouldn't want to talk to him for very long in real life, but he has interesting things to say.
The Bible says that even the smallest sparrow does not fall without God seeing it. What then of all these other races on distant worlds? Would he abandon them or reveal himself in some other way? God goes by many names, perhaps some are alien sounding, different faces and histories, but all describing the same Creator. We've come here to learn all those names.
For the gamers out there, there's an interesting guest star for this one as our new bomb expert security person that they treat with this amount of reverence. It is the guy from the Mortal Kombat film, and he says
he is also in Tekken.
Is he in Tekken?
I'm pretty sure it said that he was in Tekken.
Oh my god, did he cross over to both Tekken and Mortal Kombat? Was he Heihachi? Mortal Kombat is the thing that most people know him for. He's in a ton of stuff. He says the infamous line from Mortal Kombat.
Fatality.
Can we just talk about this guy for a second? Now, you and I, when just finishing watching the episode, started to kind of pick apart him because we know who the actor is, so we were kind of looking at this character a little bit more. So do you kind of want to guide us through what was going on here with our new bomb expert security man?
He gets name dropped, and even though I have watched this several times, I was still thinking, he dies, right? He dies, right? Like, they're setting him up like...
He was about to go on holiday.
He was about to go on holiday. They know him clearly, and we don't.
Is he the new Kef? It's always a worry, guys. It's always a concern when they have a new best friend that we've never heard about before.
Yeah. Yes. But it's just
He's no Lou. He's no Lou. R.I.P. Lou. He ate too much cake and couldn't come back. But you were going to say he's this new guy that they treat with reverence and respect. And it's like,
But
hey.
like he's always been part of the crew. And it's just like, oh, he's going to be the one that doesn't make it. Like the bomb, they get it out, but he's the last one holding on to it. But he doesn't even get that.
Yeah, if at best he would be the like they have the expert who's given the bomb exposition and the meetings, because in many shows you have that where they bring in the expert for the episode and it shows our character.
Babylon 5 does that with other things.
Right.
The political attaché.
Or even doctors. We have other doctor characters come in and out of Babylon 5 that do this for Franklin, like Dr. Lazarin, where he knows about microbiology, and then we have him back and forthing, and he's the main major character in the episode. But here you have this bomb expert guy. You're assuming what you're talking about, or what I'm talking about, which is he's the guy that details out how bombs work, how the mythology of bombers work. And
Garibaldi does that.
Garibaldi does everything relating to the bomb stuff. He knows how it works. He knows who the guy is. He knows where the guy is. He knows what kind of things, and he makes the calls on, like, get rid of the bomb here. I don't think he knows about vibration things and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And the guy, this recognizable face, he's just there to agree or say, are you sure? And
he looks dang sexy doing it.
he's a very striking guy. He's got the ponytail. He's got this grizzled face. They got a recognizable man to play a nothing part. And I'm curious of what was supposed to be happening here, because I'm spitballing. I don't know the background of this, but he comes across as a ghost to me in terms of he was once important in a draft of the script, but over time his character got reduced and hollowed out, and he's just this remnant of an idea of yesteryear, of a previous script, who somehow remained.
See, my working theory was it was a bigger guest spot. And then when they were kind of trying to condense things down, or a scheduling conflict.
Right.
Maybe made it like, oh no, we don't need that much.
Is it just they needed to create a character that viably could understand what Garibaldi would be saying in any scene? Because no character that we know reasonably, I guess, I don't know, I think that's a bit of a stretch even to say, but I guess
play it off as Zach knows.
Why can't it just be Zach throughout this whole thing? A familiar face, a familiar character, and a guy who's now in the opening credits. You give him something to do in the episode.
He just gets poked instead.
And he has to take care of this while they take care of the bomb stuff. Like, he has to they even set it up like, you got to take care of Brother Theo, but then that goes to Ivanova. It's just such a bizarre thing to me here. It was just, it jumped out to both of us. I mean, why did it jump out? Because to me, it's
not slick, and we expect slick.
It's because they gave us weirdly too much information on the guy and too much focus on him for him to then in the end not be anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the second episode in.
Like, I guess it's because all of these textual clues are leading us to a conclusion. The editing, the script, the casting, the performance all lead us to make these conclusions that he's going to be important. And in one way or another, either he's going to, stick around, be more important in the episode and just be in this one, or die.
Right.
But he does none of those. So it's just weird.
Yeah, since he doesn't come back, there seems to be no real clear purpose for his existence in this.
It's like, oh, well, of course Babylon 5 has its own bomb squad.
We knew this from the bomb episode with Garibaldi in season 1. But we didn't meet a guy and then they said, like, here's this guy, he's a day away from retirement, but no, they just let us know they exist. We didn't need to see him. I guess this episode, we need to see him. I don't know. It was just
it's
a
like,
peculiar thing.
Yes, you are building out the world, but do you need this? I don't think we needed this.
They don't give this much detail to that doctor lady who hates Londo. We just got her quick scene, her attitude, and I remember her very much at the end of this as a doctor or a nurse who didn't like Londo and told him not to touch things. They didn't tell us all of this stuff and have camera focusing on her in a way and cast a recognizable actress straight off the bat for me to go, hey, they must be... No, but it doesn't drag down the episode. Like, this isn't like a big sticking point. It was just a peculiar thing to see on the revisit because it just doesn't feel right to where JMS is at this point in his writing for the series, and I would love to know what the goal was, because at this point in time I don't really understand it outside of it's so somebody can listen to what Garibaldi has to say, and he's had many nameless and faceless guards and security people be that without this level of weird definition to them.
Yes.
Heck, that's how Lou started out. Lou was just a guy, but we loved him instantly because he was a very weird, like a very specific looking guy, like a bald, schlubby guy, and his name was Lou. And you looked at him and went, yeah, that's a Lou, and then we just kept seeing him. This guy we never see again, so it doesn't really matter.
Bob. It was my vacation. 1 week off in 2 years. Whoever's behind this really honked me off now.
Okay, listen up. I want this whole area sealed off. Security personnel only. Tell the environmental cleanup crew that they can wait. Do what you can to reconstruct this thing.
Will do.
You're good. I'll tell the captain. He ain't gonna like this.
Babylon 5 gets its own Unabomber in this episode. We are not the first people to make that joke because
it's not a joke. It's just a statement. Like C4.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got a Mad Bomber on B5. We've got a Mad Bomber.
Like his wife left him and he got kicked out of his apartment.
Don't forget he lost his job.
And he's angry with the world.
It's not fair, Rachel. But it wasn't personal. That's just the way of... It's just
the times.
It's just the times. Are we not a fan?
I'm not a fan. It's fine enough. But I'm like, I don't know what you would change to make it better. I just don't like it that much.
Well, let's rewind and go to the bombings themselves. To give the episode some major credit, I thought all of the bombings were very, very scary. Very impactful.
I agree. Like, the mix of some CG shots.
With real explosives and real sets. And
I'm like, yes, this is the merging of things that I love. Because you have the realistic element that grounds it. And the CG that makes it extraordinary in a way.
And the atmosphere that is created because of the bombings is palpable. Even though there's no reason necessarily for it, you feel the sweat that everybody has. Everybody looks like they're sweating.
The direction in this episode is extraordinary for that. Because they use some unusual framing and shots, like
very close,
that you're not used to in Babylon 5.
And a very orange and yellow tinting to this. Lots of reds, yellows, and orange lighting here. Even in normal scenes in chambers or in hallways, there's this definite air of this is a different feel. This is kind of grittier and less pleasant, and I thought they did they nailed it in terms of getting you in the headspace that the show is telling you everybody's at, because this is one of those where they tell you that the station's afraid, but we aren't seeing the people because they're all secluded away and we're only focusing on our main characters. So the direction and the editing and the acting have to do a lot of heavy lifting because they aren't actually showing you all of the fear. They're showing you some quick shots of people being scuttled away from the park, but you need Garibaldi to be tense, you need Sheridan to be furious, you need all of that, as well as just what we're saying, this marvelous direction. This is a classic example to me of a TV show where the script is okay, but the direction elevates it so much more.
Yep. And I think the direction really helps prop up the acting in this. I don't think in other hands the acting would have been this good.
Oh, I understand where you're coming at with that as well, because there's lots of movement to it. They're doing a lot of walking and talking. They're really utilizing the space of Babylon 5 to then also remind you that Babylon 5 is a physical and tangible thing that can be destroyed, exploded, torn apart. Things can collapse and kill you in the vacuum of space. They have these shots where they're walking around stairwells that we don't often see them walk along, or we get a shot of them underneath a stairplace and we see a glass floor so we can see them walking across, and there's just a lot of people walking down corridors to then turn and then go up some stairs and then turn again, and Jakar has to run past this pillar to get back to Garibaldi, and we get a lot of interesting uses of the new war room set, or the conference room thing with the table, where we get the camera panning from the floor up and we go at the back of just a normal chair, but the chair's like this silver chair, so it like stands out because the camera's so close to it, to then just pan up to Ivanova and Brother Theo just chatting. But you've had all of this close up and momentum through the camera movements and the shot compositions that even a scene of Brother Theo and Ivanova talking has a little sense of dread pinning it.
I kept on thinking throughout this episode, it really matters this is a visual. Like, they're making the most out of the medium that they have in all of the ways. Like, the production of this episode is so on point.
Post bombings, the places they visit, you can tell that there's multiple uses of film and digital trickery at work, but it looks wonderful. It reminded me of old school German expressionist films where they have jagged angles and shadowing and people walking in on things in a way where it just doesn't look real, but you know it's real. You know that's a set. You know they're standing there. There's people below. There's this harsh and sharp lighting on things. I actually, my favorite shot in the episode, if we're going to talk about the direction and the look of this, I really liked when we were in the first bombing site and we were first going in there and we were seeing where Garibaldi was, and he's squatting, and we're seeing the camera go towards him, but before the camera can even go towards him, like a little crane or people are lifting up this big jagged piece of debris, and it goes right in front of the camera, like the camera is dollying in on Garibaldi whilst also going towards this big piece of debris that's being lifted, and just the timing of it, the fluidity of it, the lack of the camera shadow getting on it and it not hitting anything, and it was just, even that gave me a little bit of pause to go, oh, just that. And it was a nice way of introducing where Garibaldi was in the scene, instead of the traditional shot of, oh, there he is, just standing over there, and the character walks over to him and says, hey, Garibaldi, what's going on?
There's more to it.
They are really experimenting and getting to grips with how can we make scenes more dynamic? Because in the medium of television, especially of this variety, you can get comfortable and just scene bam, 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 bam. They just walk in and they're just sitting there. There was even a moment where I don't know if you caught this, but they had a meeting in the that new chamber that they have with where they have their little war meetings.
Yeah.
And Ivanova is like, Garibaldi and Sheridan are standing, and Ivanova's just got like, she's sitting on the arm of one of those silver chairs with her foot up on the table, and I just was like, this is an interesting way of playing this, because it's just showing that things are still casual.
Yeah.
Ivanova's just sitting down. It's like, it's not the most flashy thing, but it was better than just they're all standing there, one sitting. It's just something a bit different.
Also shows how it's like they're at yellow alert.
Right.
Like, it's a serious situation and they've got everybody working on it.
It's top priority.
But not everything shuts down the way that it had to shut down in the plague episode.
Right, yeah.
Both very serious situations dealt with in very different ways.
We often talked about this in Season 1 and early days of Season 2, where episodes would either succeed or fail at implementing the political angle into it, because this is a space politics show where most of our characters are political figures. But sometimes you have plots where there's no real relevance for them to be there, but there would be those beautiful gems like Believers, where they would determine a way to make it have the political characters and use them in that fashion, where in that one it was the parents going around to each one of them asking them to help them, and each ambassador shut them down in their own way and
for their own reasons.
And I was thinking about that here, because you could just make this a bomber plot and that's it. It's just a bomber plot, but you have Londo and Jakar playing political chess with it.
Yep, we get those back-to-back scenes. It's like, it's the Centauri! And I love the blocking that they give Jakar in that scene of him chasing around Garibaldi. And Garibaldi's not even trying to lose Jakar, that he's so excited he's like a cat with a laser pointer.
Yeah, Jakar,
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the Jakar one first. It's the classic Jakar, where both the Jakar and Londo demonstrate how they've changed and how they haven't. Because Jakar is very much Season 1 Jakar, where he's shouting to the rooftops that it's the Centauri and they're gonna fuck you over and you humans are being stupid, not listening to me.
Yep.
He's grown, yet he's still so much where he's at, where even a bombing where people's lives have been taken, he still finds a way to wiggle it into some agenda.
But it isn't just that he's moving in that direction. It's everything in his being tells him that.
Well, yeah,
he believes that with his whole heart, that evil things must be because of the Centauri. They are behind everything awful that happens. So it has to be them.
Yeah, but to lean into it, though, as well, it is played for comedy with him. There's a little bit of humor to it. So there is a bit of a laugh at Jakar and his narrow-mindedness and his way of trying to play this off as a jab at the Centauri. It has it both ways and in a good fashion. And then we cut to Londo. And it shows us that
and he doesn't have to go to Garibaldi.
he gets the main
He
lot.
goes straight to the top.
I love the way they demonstrate it too, where Jakar is having to like run down Garibaldi in a public place, screaming at the top of his lungs, while Londo, well, you guys have signed a non-aggression pact with me and have to meet with me whenever I want you to. So sit down and listen to me.
They don't spell that out for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see that. You feel that. The distinct difference in the power that they each have now. And how Londo is weirdly sort of rejecting his power.
Oh, but relishing it
through,
too.
Through the ease that he has in that scene of like, well, yeah, I don't have to try. This comes easy now. I don't need to grasp for more power. But Jakar is trying so hard to get any shred of power back.
The acting from Bruce Boxleitner in that scene with Londo is classic. Sheridan.
He wants to tell Londo to fuck off.
But he has to bite his tongue.
So fucking bad.
He has to bite his tongue.
So fucking bad. And it's beautiful.
And clench his jaw and accept
beautiful.
it and tell him in a calm and patient manner that you should go fuck yourself, Londo. He has to say it in a very politically wise fashion. While with Garibaldi and Jakar, Garibaldi doesn't need to do that. Garibaldi's just like, whatever. It's not them. You're being stupid. And then just kind of leave Jakar in the dust. They aren't afforded that ability with Londo. They have to play nice.
Yes.
Even though they despise him, they loathe him, they are disgusted by him, and they tell him as much, and that they would hope that somebody would not take these tragic events and use it as a springboard for their own political gains.
Mm-hmm.
And Londo's Mr. Well, there's nothing political about the truth. Oh, Londo.
Such a lie.
I love all of this. All of this is meticulous and the threats
the character moments.
But it's not just character moments, but all of the direction and tension. You feel
cohesive.
The air is thick in this episode. But then we get to the Mad Bomber himself, and that's where all of that goodwill is flushed down the toilet for me, because we get to silly territory where Sheridan's having to shove his badge up his butt, and the bomber doesn't even give him a proper inspection to make sure he doesn't have a link. So you're thinking, why didn't he just put his link in his pocket? You know, like there's a lot of that, and the Mad Bomber's performance, we'll get to it in our spotlight, but it's very much a different gear to where everybody else has been in the episode. And so
it's like that could play better.
And
but it doesn't.
Well, I don't know. We'll talk about him in a little bit, because I think he does some interesting work, but then we just have to, because this is the nature of the beast, isn't it? We have to find out why the guy's bombing. And it's just a big monologue of exposition and this crap about this one guy that we're not really going to spend any time with after this scene is over. Because really, it's one big scene. We may intercut to other things, but it's really one big confrontation. And I would rather have had in the episode, they had figured out along the way who this guy was and some of his motivations, and then we meet him and take him down. But being
dripped through a little bit earlier,
right? Because as it is, we have all of this tension, and then it all leads to my
bitch ex-wife.
And my boss, and I lost my apartment, and isn't capitalism bad? And you know what? I'm an agent of chaos, and we know chaos people is one of the big themes of Babylon 5, so we could talk about the Mad Bomber in relation to that overall thing, but realistically,
he has a reason to exist.
He has a reason to exist.
Not arguing that part. We argue about how well is that executed.
Right, and There's like, I do appreciate that they gave him a clearly defined reasoning for why he's doing it, and it's not just because his wife left him, he lost his job, but he is this person who's been stomped on because of the times, and we
was
know
predisposed to this sort of thing.
Yes, and the atmosphere we know of Earth and Earth culture.
It's like, oh, fucking course.
Of course it would lead to people like this. And then that makes you think about the real world. So we bring up the Unabomber. There's many other people that you could point to as well that's inspiration for this. But that is, I think, a huge thrust of it is to make you think about the real world, about how there are people like this that get pushed to this brink, and how do you feel about that? How do you feel about how our society can help lead to people like this? Do you take how much accountability?
Ignore them over and over and over again. Nobody stops to take care of these people, and it's interesting that the first attack is in Down Below. And we see a number of lurkers get blown to fucking shreds.
Right.
And they're in the same position of like being down on their luck.
As he is.
He's actually in a better position than them because he managed to get another engineering job off-world.
Yeah, but
those people are scrounging around for something to sell.
Right, but he's too blind to see that.
Yeah, because he wants to destroy as he's been destroyed.
He wants to punish people.
Yeah, but the social commentary obviously coming from whose responsibility is it to stop people like this? Should it be somebody's responsibility to stop him from getting to this point?
And in the 90s and in 90s media, Falling Down comes to mind, for instance, as a film of comparison. There are these people like him, these mild-mannered guys who live the so-called life where they have the wife and they have the place they live and they have the job, and then for one reason or another those things go away, and these people, in this case this Mad Bomber guy, and in Falling Down Michael Douglas,
have anger issues,
underlying
things
anger
as well.
issues, government jobs or government contracted jobs, they wear glasses, they're kind of these people who feel entitled to let loose and punish others because it doesn't matter anymore. Nothing matters. Nothing makes sense.
The dream failed me.
The times have changed, and I do not like that, so I am going to punish everybody because of that. There was a definite sentiment about characters of this nature during this time period, so he doesn't stand out as peculiar of a character, but in this series, it isn't that peculiar either, because we've had other ones, but they've found organizations and causes in a more militarized or fascist way. Hence, they bring up the Home Guard. Hence, they bring up all of these Earth First groups of this guy could be a part of. But that's the thing. He's not politically motivated. He's not motivated through a fascist agenda. He is a guy who's been feels
kicked down too many times. He's like, I'm gonna destroy everybody.
He wants to be noticed. He considers himself an artist, which just having played Metal Gear Solid 2, where there's a Mad Bomber guy as well who also considers himself an artist, I'm a little sick of that as well. Okay, guys, bombers, you're not artists, okay? Right? Just move past it, all right? If this guy, Rachel, now, if this character was like the fat man in Metal Gear Solid 2, a fat, bald guy with a big jacket on roller skates, flinging himself about while drinking champagne, would it be better?
Did you seriously just ask me that?
Yes.
Life is short. Bombs tell the time with every moment of their existence, and nothing else announces its own end with such a fanfare. Glad you could make it. The party's about to start.
Linnea has a subplot too. Can we talk about that instead of what you were just making me think of?
If we must, Rachel, so what is our good dear friend Lanier up to?
He saved Londo.
Oh, yeah.
So, Londo and Delenn are both coming off transports.
Oh, and what's Lanier been doing?
Lanier has been chilling in the waiting area.
Mm-hmm.
And he lies. He lies.
So Minbaris do lie. Not just to save face, but he'll pay penance for it. I like this.
It's a cute moment.
They're really giving Bill Mumy a lot more to do this season. I don't know what it is, but season 2, he didn't get as much to do. He had a lot more reactions to things than actual things to do. Here, we're 2 episodes in, and we've really noticed Bill Mumy getting to really chew it up. And I don't know if he asked them, like, hey guys, can we give me more? Do you know who I am? I was in Lost in Space. I haven't had much to do since I played poker with Londo, and that was season 1. Can you give me more to do? I mean, one of the last big things I got to do was drink with Stephen First. That was pretty cool. But, like, can we give me more? They've really bang these 2 first episodes. They've given Lanier a lot to do, and I'm looking through the next few we're going to cover. There's more Lanier time to come. But I like this. I thought it was very funny.
I like it a lot.
Where the annoying man, played by John C. Flynn III, the
Obnoxious
DP,
man,
obnoxious man, is just talking like absolute bullshit nonsense, like just small talk, just overly loud, and just talk about his wife and his problems, and he's got a medallion on.
I read him as drunk.
I just think he's annoying, like obnoxious. I just think he's a guy that's like, because here's the thing. I've met these guys.
Yes.
They love to talk to me. I'm Lanier. They love to talk to me.
Yes.
Where they don't need to be drunk. They just need to be like, you looked at me. Now I talk to you. And that's all you need.
Yeah.
It was just amusing. Lanier lying about having Netter's syndrome, which is the name of one of the producers. So I don't know how Doug Netter feels about having a syndrome named after him in Babylon 5, but I'm sure he would be proud. I think Copeland got something named after him last season as well, or coming up. But so Delenn comes through. Hey, what do you think she was up to? She just coming back from Mbryo? Do you think she was up to much?
I think she was visiting the Rangers.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's where Marcus was in this episode?
Yeah.
She went to go visit Marcus to see how they're handling?
Uh-huh.
Where was Londo? He was coming with her. Where do you think he was at?
No, like, it was, I guess he was obviously on a different transport.
Yeah, what do you think he was up to? Do you think he was coming back, hanging out with his pal Reefer?
Yep.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Playing sword fights? He was teaching Reefer how to sword fight?
No,
No, Reefer. This is how you do it.
You just won't back down from the silliness now, will you? It's
Rachel,
Rachel, fucking
games? You don't like games. Rachel's not a gamer.
Oh,
it's confirmed.
Fuck you.
Now listen. Now, Yumlings.
Fuck you.
Now, Yumlings. If you had the data of who plays video games longer in the hours of the day out of the 2 of us, it ain't me. It ain't me.
Fuck you.
Just Rachel plays one game, Stardew Valley, all the time. On all devices. I play different games like Metal Gear.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Metal Gear. All right. See, Rachel, you think that kicked off the silliness? I shoved a microphone up my butt for this. That was pretty silly.
I didn't like that either. But that was just starting shenanigans. But now
So you're saying you didn't like shoving the microphone up your butt? Wow. But you did it anyway.
You asked so
the content.
politely.
I did. I was like, please shove it up there. Sheridan did it. And you're like, well, if Sheridan did it.
But he obviously didn't shove it up there enough because sitting down turned it on.
It did make a squelch noise when he put it up there, which was very disconcerting. Linnea saved Londo, and that explosion scene was actually really haunting to see Linnea get fucked up like that. And
how he gets thrown into that glass.
Another great shot is Londo and Delenn on the floor looking up at the doorway with all of the fire just shooting at it and them reacting. Again, you can't replace this with CG. Real fire is intimidating, even on 90s TV. It's just...
It also just
shooting flames at 'em.
something out in people. Like, there is something so primal about a huge fire.
Yeah, shooting fire at your actors. That's why season 4 of Discovery was really great, because they decided that we should shoot fireballs on the Discovery Bridge at the actors for some reason, and I adore it every single time that they did it. So we get to Linnea being in sickbay. Franklin is all, hey, he survived because he has a bone on his head. Don't you remember that? He has a bone on his head.
Yeah.
We set that up earlier in the episode when we mentioned the bone on their head. So there you go. But he's in a coma. We don't know what his deal is. Hopefully he'll survive. We know he will because he's in the opening credits and it's not the season finale yet. That's when they usually leave to kill one of the main cast members.
That Hema in Strange New Worlds.
I said Babylon 5, not this series. Hema wasn't also... Hema's not he's Kefir, so he could have been... But no, they saved him for the second last, just to twist the knife.
I just wanted
to spoiler alert for Strange New Worlds, by the way.
I just wanted to throw that under the bus because it was shit.
It was pretty shit. It was one of the worst decisions they made in the season.
You know what's not shit?
Londo's joke?
Yeah.
I laughed and laughed and laughed.
It's great. It's even better the second time.
Did you hear me laughing?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
Yeah.
I couldn't hear you. Maybe because we were laughing at the same time.
You were pretty loud.
It's like magnets. It just cancels each other out, repels each other. That's what happened.
Yes. Yes, that's definitely what happened.
I said it earlier, but the Londo Linnea stuff is really touching and gets to my emotions very much. I'm a sucker.
It's so sad.
Well, I'm a sucker for, in movies and television, is there a specific name for it when you have the person who's in a coma or they're dying and you have the person next to them and they're like, you just keep talking to them and hopefully their talking will bring them out of it.
There has to be a name for that trope.
I fall for it pretty much every time. Yep. I'm weak to that trick. I find it just, it always tugs at my heartstrings. It always enraptures me, engages me. It makes me think about if I was in that situation in either party. It really gets me going, but as I mentioned earlier, it's just the sadness of Londo trying to connect with somebody who can't connect back because they're in a coma, but they're also somebody who, because of his own actions, he's severed that connection with. And we hear that from Linnea at the very end, where Linnea doesn't feel good about having saved Londo. He worries that he's tended to the present while endangering the future, because Londo is a war criminal. Londo is responsible for countless lives, the ending of countless lives. And it's a great little moral dilemma that you would have there. I mean, how about you? How are you with the Linnea side of things?
It's wonderful. It's such a delicate tone that it has, but I really enjoy it. I don't know what else to say about it. I'm just like, I liked it. It was nice.
Well, you had a lot to say about it when we were watching it in terms of how JMS takes the character of Linnea from this.
Oh, yeah.
You had a lot of words to say. Oh, Rachel's now slamming down her notes. She's ready to finally whip it out and be like, fuck you, JMS.
This is Linnea. Not the fucking bullshit with Sheridan. This is Linnea.
The bullshit in season 5?
Fuck that fucking bullshit.
Whoa, I didn't realize Bill Mooney walked in the room and took the microphone out of Rachel's butt. Just to say all of this. Bill, it's great to have you here. I love your work.
This is Linnea. This shows who Linnea is. Because not only does he throws Delenn before himself, he blindly reaches for Londo.
Mm-hmm.
And then once he's thrown Londo, he doesn't launch himself across the threshold. He turns to make sure that nobody else was behind Londo and within his reach. That's what Linnea is like.
And even then, Londo points out that he stopped and he waited for me and tried to get, and he got me. Again, like even Londo points out that Linnea's this great figure where he saved even me. Because Londo, in that moment, admits like, yeah, I'm a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, he acknowledges that not everybody would have done that for him.
One of the few moments where he's expressed openly disdain for himself in a manner. You're right, this is Linnea. And that's what makes it difficult because all of this stuff in the future with Linnea is also there. You can be a hero, but you can also be a bad person in ways as well. But
and you can make one decision that betrays who you are.
Yeah.
And that you have to live with those consequences. But
in a narrative.
Yes. And that can be a very interesting thing to explore. But it does not work for me with Linnea.
Is this the major sticking point for you with that? If this wasn't here, him doing this, would you be more inclined? Because this is such a memorable Linnea moment.
Yes,
he saved a war criminal, and even after he did that, he is contemplating the ramifications of having done so.
Yes.
But he's satisfied because it's still saving a life. Bill Mooney agrees.
Londo's life isn't less sacred.
Right.
It is still a life. Sheridan is still alive.
And that other ranger.
That's what I was going to get to. I still think that if it was Sheridan and that other ranger in that room, no fucking way.
Yeah.
No fucking way would Linnea unquestionably leave both of them. No fucking way.
But he regrets it and he tries to go back, but it's too late.
He does.
It's too late. I can't do it.
I'm like, yeah, like that. You do dumb shit. But also, Linnea has had his ranger training between now and then. So he has this religious upbringing.
But now he's got a military training.
And now he's got military training.
But the argument JMS will make is he went into the Rangers with darkness in his heart. For the wrong reasons. And he went to it like Marcus in a lot of ways. Because he's trying to replicate Marcus as well. But Marcus also had negative tendencies and sacrifice.
And
it didn't work out for him. Look, I will say I'm still open to seeing that side of Linnea in the future. But this episode really does taint the water of me thinking it as credible as JMS does.
I just don't buy it.
Bill Mooney makes the same argument here where it's like he's willing to save a war criminal. He does all of these things, and Bill Mooney makes a very compelling case, and this moment is a giant thrust of that case, and it is. It's just, you watch this and you go, oh, I can't believe that they take this guy and fuck him up in season 5. And that's it. You always think they fuck him up in season 5. rather than like they give him this bittersweet ending. It's like, no, it just feels like, oh, and they fucked him up in season 5 because we've got to have drama.
Oh, yeah. Like, his actual ending is just so weak.
But even before the ending, what he gets up to in season 5, you're like, I can't believe they're just fucking around with Linnea for the sake of it. But we'll get there when we get there. For this moment in time, Linnea is sacred and pure and is complex, and I adore it very much. Londo gets to have some fun telling jokes to somebody who can't hear it. And then the jokes do get heard by people, and then they try to retell the joke, and then Linnea finishes it because he did hear it. That was very cute and adorable, and I had...
Very, very JMS.
Very JMS.
So wholeheartedly JMS.
How many Centauri does it take to screw in a light bulb? Not just one. But in the great old days...
Great old days of the Republic, hundreds of servants would leap to change 1,000 bulbs at your slightest whim. Heard it.
Welcome back. How do you feel?
As though a great many heavy objects had fallen on me.
Now, let's get to the real meat of the episode. We've had the bomber, we've had all of this, but really it's about Londo and Jakar stuck in a lift. It's like 3 scenes, but they're all great.
Every frame, every line, every shot, I fucking adore
the acting
in this sequence. Like, this sequence is utter perfection to me. This is like, it's my baby. I fucking love it unconditionally.
It works because we know what it is. We know what it's supposed to be, I should say, rather. We know it's supposed to be traditionally these two opposed will be now forced to work together to save each other, and maybe they befriend one another or learn something about each other and grow. This is Picard stuck in the elevator with the kids.
Yeah.
Where Picard doesn't like children, but by the end he likes them now because they went through this...
He likes those kids now.
yeah. But, you know, he's grown and he's matured, and we're going to have that with Londo and Jakar, but then JMS says, no, that's stupid. Londo's a war criminal who's oppressed Jakar's people. You think sticking them in a lift together and making them try to escape as a little team would change their hatred and change them? And like, you really think Jakar would want to do that? And I agree, it's stupid. They don't do it, and I like that.
Londo knows that Jakar is gonna kill him.
Oh, in the future? Yes. But I you're right. All of this is perfect. All of this it's kind of hard to even give commentary on it because it's one of those where it speaks for itself. You will either find it amusing or you won't. I find it inherently amusing whenever we have Londo and Jakar together because they always have that old married couple bickering. I hate my life. I do too. And they just, those two actors were just born to play against each other. They are still probably the best chemistry within the show. And every moment, the callback to season 1 with the little fishies song being here is
and like that way that's like
the camera,
a very quick panning sort of shot.
Mm-hmm. And he's singing it in this very slow, melodic, menacing fashion, and still silly because it's a silly little song, and it's very amusing because we remember it if you're keen-eyed and viewer and you have good memory from season 1 when it was a funny little silly thing that Jakar did on his own when he was cooking, and now that they're cooking inside of this thing, he's singing the song about Londo.
Yes,
and
Londo and me.
One of the things I do know from behind the scenes is JMS was a bit taken aback when he was kind of walking past the set at hearing laughter being done. The script isn't changed, but Andreas Katsoulis decided to play it, and they directed it in this fashion what we see here, in which it's, instead of being the traditional way that JMS was intending it, where it's more grim and serious and more straightly played, Andreas plays it up in this mania and this hysterical laughter throughout all of it, and making these silly little voices. And what a perfect choice that was.
It makes it so vicious in a way.
Yeah,
it's gleefully malicious.
This is definitely one of the times where Jakar is a gay icon. He's just he just needs to be filing his nails in the corner and just making those kind of John Waters type scathing comments at Londo, and we've got it. Queer icon, gay icon, Jakar, love it, adore it. Every single thing he says is done in this very catty fashion. It's very catty.
It's like you're meant to be a lizard, not a cat, Jakar.
Yeah, you're a little marsupial man with a pouch. As the humans say, up yours and die, up yours and die. I love that. Jakar is in his element here, but they bring it back down to reality as well, where he details why he's going to just let Londo die and why isn't he going to kill him himself. It's because, don't you remember the horrible things from last season that you helped implement?
And why there is no fucking chance of them working together.
Right? Because why would you work with that guy?
No, you
fuck him.
Fuck him.
Fuck Londo. I love Peter Jurasik looking around, trying to figure out ways to get out and getting frustrated. And I just loved his acting where like he touches the door, touches the wall, it's hot, and then he realizes how long he's been out, and then he realizes that Jakar left him near the hot wall, and then he's
told.
Yeah.
Because Jakar doesn't hide it. Doesn't pretend like he doesn't know.
What I meant is
he
like
lets
it's more
Londo know how long.
Yeah, and then he's done nothing.
There, and he left him there next to the flaming hot door.
He finds that out, but then he realizes, then he puts together, oh, you just left me there, and that door's extremely hot, and it's like, there could be a fire, and we could die, don't you care?
There must be a fire for it to be that hot.
Right, and you want to live, yes, but I'd rather see you die. And it's like, oh, great, Londo's living his nightmare, because you get that exchange between the two of them before he enters the lift, where I'll just take another one, because that would be the ultimate nightmare, is to be stuck in a lift with Jakar. You don't know what he's going to do. You don't know how he's going to act. And one of the fears you would have is...
He's a shady motherfucker.
But he's the embodiment of Londo's guilt. Because Londo feels guilt about all he's done. And Jakar is the embodiment of all of the atrocities he's ever done.
Somewhat unconsciously links back to the Veer and Jakar scene in the lift.
Right, yes. But this one's really funny.
Yes.
This one's really, really funny.
This one has a very different tone.
The Veer one, not so funny. This one, very funny. And JMS, as messy as this script can be at times, where you have people shoving microphones up their butts and stuff like that, and you have a mad bomber guy, pat yourself on the back for deciding to end this with them two still in the lift, but now they're being cut out and they're just making jabs at one another. Great way to end it. No, there's no better way to end it. There's no better way to pan, to zoom out and you see just how small they are and just how close they are and how tightly packed in, and they're just still bitching at each other. And you know that this is just going to be them in the show. They have always been bitching at each other. They've always been at each other's throat. They've always been stuck together. And you know that this is going to continue in the future.
There, you see. I'm going to live.
So it was said. Well, it is an imperfect universe.
Bastard.
Monster.
Fanatic.
Murderer.
You are insane!
And that is why we'll win.
Go be the ambassador to Babylon 5, they say. It will be an easy assignment. I hate my life.
So do I.
Shut up!
It's time for Spotlight. Not the Michael Keaton film Spotlight, but...
You motherfucker.
No. That's a great film, starring not just Michael Keaton, but other actors too. What other actors?
Oh,
I don't know, because they're not a part of our spotlight, which is a section where we shine a light on an actor or an actress that appeared in this episode. And we talk about what we know them from, what we thought of them here, any interesting facts. You've heard it already, but we're going to be talking about the Mad Bomber himself, who is played by Patrick Kilpatrick.
Yep.
I can't believe that they named their child Patrick with a name that already has Patrick in it. Would you do that? Would you do that if you had a last name that can also, like a last name that has partially a first name in it? Would you then name the kid's first name that? I don't know if I mean, I would do it as a joke, but...
You.
Yeah, I would name my kid Major. If their middle and then their middle name Major.
You know exactly what I was thinking.
And then their last name Major.
Yeah.
And then
you
I'd ask
would
them
be Major's dad.
And then yeah, and you would be dead because you
I
would die
from it.
Die from laughter. Die from the
That is
laughter.
not how she
No, but
dies.
you're different. You're different. You would find it funny. So we're talking about Patrick Kilpatrick, and he's our Mad Bomber. Okay. What did you think of him?
Not a whole lot, to be honest. I've never really thought this much about this character.
But he's given a very high energy performance.
He
ain't skimping you.
He is going for it. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But there's so little of his character that I just don't give a shit.
It's a tough thing, isn't it? Because he's doing a role that is, in a way, self-defeating, because he has to play a crazy person. But a complaint I want to say is, he plays the crazy person too stereotypically, but also, how else is he supposed to play this guy? Because there are people that we know, like we've seen in the real world, that are just this crazy, that are just this far gone, and he's in a life and death situation where he's got the he's holding the trigger there, and he's demanding all of this, and he's panicking, and he's sweating. How else is this guy supposed to play it? Yet at the same time, I think he's cartoony. I think it's one note. I don't find him scary. I don't find him wild and unpredictable. This isn't Al Pacino in Dog Day Afternoon, where he's wild and unpredictable, but we got to spend time with that character, so Al Pacino could give a really great performance, and it's a whole film, and it's Al Pacino. But yeah, I always tense up at making a criticism of actors playing crazy people as saying, well, they're playing them like they're crazy, because sometimes it's like, that is like, I don't know how to articulate, but it's like, sometimes when you watch a movie or show and they play, and there's the crazy person, you go, yeah, they nailed it, because they're playing it like this unhinged madman who's completely untethered from reality. And then there's that other part of it where you go, yeah, but isn't it kind of, I don't know, generalizing insanity or madness or delusions? And I don't know, I'm like you, I haven't thought about him as much either as an antagonist, but when he does come up in this episode, I always just go, look at this freak. And him, visually, he looks crazy. He's got these glasses, he's got the buzzed hair, he's sweating, he's wearing these overalls.
And the way that we're introduced to him through the extreme close-up of
his eyes
and the profile with a bit like through his glasses.
Right, yeah.
Very distinct shot. Again, going back, I think the directing is great in this episode.
Yeah, and it's a reason why they cast this guy. He looks deranged. He has a very distinct, scary demeanor about him, and evidently it was supposed to do all of the legwork here, but honestly, I think the script needed more for him to do. I think there's a better way to implement this guy. Again, it's not a performance I hate, it's just one where it leaves me lacking overall, and it sounds like it's left you lacking as well.
Yeah, I'm like, yep, it's alright. Like, it's not bad. It's not good. I go back to the word serviceable.
he is known for playing these types of characters, these one-off bad guys, these henchmen or insane people.
Many crime shows.
Crime figures, evil, corrupt police. He plays a lot of psychopaths. Not always, but a lot. I mean, I've got a list of things that I know him from and many people may know him from. He was in Toxic Avenger, Remo Williams, Class of 1999. He has a brilliant quote about his time on that. So I'll give you his quote about him being in Class of 1999. He says, "I still have pictures of me with my robot arm, and even I, who has died many times on film, consider being lynched by a forklift unique." And that comment says a lot, where he's the guy who gets killed or apprehended or captured or taken down a lot. That's how he has generated his career. And it's part of it, I would say, as we know with actors, is their look. He just looks like a mean motherfucker. He looks like a crazy guy. He's in one of our listeners and guests, Nick, he loves Lois and Clark, as does his brother Pat. He was in that, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. He was in The Stand, the TV miniseries. He was in Eraser with Arnold Schwarzenegger, again, as a guy to apprehend and take down for Schwarzenegger to fuck up and all of that. He was in X-Files and Minority Report. Again, Nick loves this show. Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Nick always says, man, I wish you guys were doing that show. I love the Sarah Connor Chronicles. He was in Chuck, even. You love Chuck. And guess what he played? A bad guy. Would you be shocked to hear that?
No.
To give this a connection to B5, though, he was in Star Trek. He did a couple of episodes of Voyager, but to connect it to Deep Space Nine for a moment, I mean, to Babylon 5 with Deep Space Nine, he was in a Deep Space Nine episode that had Bill Mumy in it.
Aww, of course.
And a big episode. That's a big episode. It's the one where I do believe it's the one where Nog loses his leg. So the Siege of AR. I can't remember the exact numbers, but there's your little connection. The guy, yeah, he's got a lot of work under his belt, and he plays a lot of these type of roles where, name a show, he was most likely in it as some bad guy.
Yes.
Charmed, bad guy. Texas Walker Ranger, he was in it,
So he was born in 1949. How old do you think he was when he did his first role? So he's got about 150 credits.
I know Toxic Avenger was his first film role, but he did TV before. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to guess he was in his 40s.
35.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because he just has one credit on IMDb before Toxic Avenger, which is The Edge of Night.
Oh, there you go.
And he was in 14 episodes in 1984.
Right.
Which was the same year as
Toxic Avenger, which is Troma's big film, I would say. If you're not familiar with Troma, they make funny films, very low-end film, these very gross sexual films. Lots of people have come from there. Obviously, James Gunn is a great example of somebody who came from Troma. He was a writer for them, and Toxic Avenger is their big flagship movie. So
we mentioned that he was in DS9.
Mm-hmm. And he was in some Voyager.
Yes. He's in 2 episodes of Voyager.
One really bad episode and one not too bad episode. So there you go.
There were some other things that I was like, I might have seen him in this. I've seen that show. Dr. Quinn, Medical Woman.
Medicine Woman?
Medicine Woman. Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Because my mum watched that.
Everybody's mum watched that.
Everybody's mum watched
I swear my mum watched that. But ironically, of course.
He was Death in Charmed.
Right? He's in every, I feel like this guy's also in everything, but no, also, I kind of wish he was in some other things. I wish that he was in Farscape.
Yeah, it's he wasn't in that? Okay. He was also in an episode of Burn Notice. And the last one that I have noted down, because you stole the Chuck one from me.
I did.
Is the show Las Vegas.
Okay, I'm not too familiar. I don't know that one.
Really? You don't remember?
Is that the one with James Caan? There was that show where James Caan ran a casino in Las Vegas. I can't remember if it was called Las Vegas, but there is a show where James Caan is like the whole premise of the show is James Caan runs a casino and they solve crimes because it was that in that era where they solve crimes.
I think it's the same, but I'm like not willing to confirm.
But yet you were willing to judge me for not having Las Vegas on my list.
No, I was like, I thought you would remember this show because it was short-lived, but it was very highly promoted on TV.
So, what is it about Vegas?
Oh, I got it.
Here's the thing, we've got something new, and he's taking over the Montecito. Tom Selleck.
Let's have some fun.
Between an explosion, a heist, a hostage situation, and a guy flying out of a plane, it's gonna be quite a first day.
Anything can happen.
The 2-hour Las Vegas season premiere, Friday, September 28th.
So you did some digging into the guy's life a bit. Now, I read on his IMDb that he was a journalist at one point. He worked for several big things, one of them being Playboy.
And Time Magazine.
No. Time Magazine's cool, but Playboy. Everybody.
And then he took a sabbatical from Time and took up playwriting. He also originally trained as a fucking teacher.
So you and he relate.
Uh-huh.
The guy has a lot of experience with military stuff and guns. I don't know if he was in the military or the police, but his IMDb kind of references that he works alongside such things.
He's done stuff with the LAPD.
Yeah.
So I was scrolling through his trivia as well as his bio, and I came across this fact, and I was like, yes, I wholeheartedly believe that fact. That fact does belong to somebody of this man's generation.
Oh.
Which is, in a 18-month period, Kilpatrick did 5 films, 5 major studio films, 2 independents, and 27 guest star spots on 18 different shows.
Why?
That man fucking works.
Did he have some taxes to pay off?
I don't fucking... I'm like, okay, you were in high demand. You were in high demand, I guess.
And he's a Broadway and off-Broadway actor. Again, a theatrical experience being used on this series. And
he's still acting. He currently has 4 projects that are in post-production.
I feel guilty because I've seen him in so many things like I just listed, and I see his catalog and I go, wow, this guy. But outside of B5, I don't remember him in any of these things. He doesn't stand out. That's why I didn't list like what he was in all of these, because I've seen them all.
Yeah.
But I don't remember him particularly. But I'm doing a quick gain. I'm like, oh yeah, here's that guy. And here's the reason. He is a shapeshifter because his hair and facial hair changes, and he just, give him more hair, give him less.
Adaptable.
And I haven't heard his voice enough in things because sometimes he's just like a guy, just a silent guy. But he's a working guy. He does all this stuff, and he was in B5. And although I didn't love the character, and I wasn't overwhelmed by his performance, I think he did what was needed of him. It wasn't anything exceptional. He got his ass kicked. He threw Sheridan through some glass.
That was a great shot. That was like, yes, you spend money on that crystal glass. You spend money on that sand.
Yeah,
that sugar.
And for some reason, the bomber, he grew a full head of hair during that. And I thought, wow. I thought, wow, that was really nice that he did that for that one shot. Was that Kosh's magic at work again? I don't know.
There is one other thing. That I want to note, which is I got super excited when I saw one of the things that was in post-production because I saw the name of it and I was like, is it this thing, and, I was disappointed when I went to actually look at it.
It wasn't it, was it?
No, it wasn't it. And
What did you think he was in?
no, so I saw that he was in a film coming out called The Ice Cream Man.
Oh, you thought it was a Clint Howard-related film, Ice Cream Man?
No, I knew that it wasn't a remake of that.
You can't remake a classic.
No, you can't touch that movie.
You can't remake a classic.
Can't touch that movie.
Can't redo
No,
it.
I thought that they were making an adaptation of the graphic novel
Ice
/
Cream Man.
comic book series.
That'd be fun. Get Clint Howard back for that too, actually. He'd be great in that. Unironically, get him back for that.
There are a number of films called The Ice Cream Man because they were just listed underneath.
That's fair. That's
I was
fair.
like, oh, okay.
It's a popular title. Everybody loves ice cream. What would you rate this? Yum being bad and Yum Yum being good. That's our scale. No half yums.
Has its downsides, but it has perfect scenes in it too.
Right.
It has beautiful direction. It's a yum yum.
Yum yum.
I'm less charitable. I like it. I'm going to give it a yum.
Yum.
I don't think it's actually a bad episode, but it just isn't one that I'm on board with as fully.
You just feel bad that we've been doling out the yum yum.
No, I just it's a weaker entry for me. It always has been.
For me, it's not
a-
bad. It's weaker, definitely.
Yeah, but at this point, this feels like a little bit of a pothole in the road for me when I know that we're going to be smooth sailing for quite some time to come. Like, looking at the list of the episodes coming up, we're going to have some pretty great ones in the future, but this one has always just kind of made me go, meh, meh. Excellent direction, lifting up some okay material with some weird little choices that I don't understand, like the bomb expert guy being here. But that is what I'm giving it. I'm sorry if everyone's crying over it. Convictions?
So,
No, not
Ryan,
convictions.
What is that next episode?
On the next Babylon 5.
Next episode, we will be discussing episode 3 of season 2, A Day in the Strife.
Oh no!
Anything can happen on the station, and just about everything does, as events ranging from freighter problems to non-intrigue to Veer's reassignment to a mysterious alien probe sweep through the station. I love that description. It just kept going. It's like, and to this, and to that, and to that, and to this, and that, and 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 this, and that. Oh, okay. A Day in the Strife. Make sure to give that episode a look over in the interim of time between us discussing it. You can follow us on the social media of your choice at YumYumPodcast or YumYumPod. We are always posting, always engaging, having a bit of a fun time on there, having a laugh, as the kids say, and LOL, as they like to TikTok about, which we are on. Doing things there. All of this is in the description, as well as our email, which is
yumyumpod@gmail.com.
if you want to talk to us more directly. Make sure to subscribe and follow us on whatever podcatcher you use. We're also on YouTube, where we post our episodes, as well as some video content on there. Every once in a while, we've got some of the B5 trailers and TV spots. The DVD menus are on there, thanks to us, with the morphing menus. Season 3 is my personal favorite morphing menu, although Season 2... close contender. I mean, it does have Talia turning into Kosh. What can outdo that, honestly? But that is all we've got. If you haven't rated and reviewed us, I understand. Not every platform allows a Yum Yum. They don't have the Yum Yum system, but if you could rate it highly on there, we would adore that. Very much so. Jakar was here, Rachel.
Yes.
He said many things.
Many things. Some of which related to food.
Some of them related to food. You know what I didn't hear from his mouth, though?
Good eating to you.
How did... No, yeah, you didn't say that. I can't believe he didn't say it, but you're right. He didn't say good evening to you.
Mr. Keller!